What's up, everyone? My name is Elijah Kim. I'm a 17-year-old online entrepreneur, and in this video I wanted to share 7 lessons I've learned. As a 17-year-old entrepreneur, I've been doing this for about a year and a half after I fully committed to my online business and got to where I am today. For context, literally a year and a half ago, I was a high school sophomore. I was going to public school, doing the norm, but I had one goal, I had one mission. And I told myself at that point it was early financial independence. And that's when I really began searching on my journey ways that I could make money online, start a business, and become independent. So in this video, it's really just to document lessons I've learned along the way. I am by no means successful, or I don't like to call myself someone who knows everything or that this is truth, but these are things that have helped me get to where I am today, things I've learned along the way that I think if you implement, you will gain an insane amount of clarity and hopefully a sense of direction in your life. And if you already have goals or have set goals, that you can use these to propel you forward. So, intro out. I'll start with my first lesson. My first lesson is that you shouldn't live your life for the expectations of other people. A big realization I had to make, and a personal agreement within myself that I actually have documented on this YouTube channel, is a question I asked myself: am I living my life right now for the sake of pleasing another person? Am I living my life to best serve someone else, best be a version of myself that best serves another person? And when I asked myself, it was yes, I was truthfully living to the expectations of my parents. You know, they wanted me to follow a set path, they wanted me to go to college, they wanted me to get good grades, go to school. But I had every polar opposite like ambition at the time. And what this realization came to is I agreed on one fateful night, like I'm no longer gonna live to the expectations of my parents. And that was the same day where I broke off a version of myself that used to be inauthentic, that used to be basically this slave that was just pursuing dreams and ambitions that weren't even mine. And that's when I really began to think independently. That same month, I convinced my parents to basically homeschool me so I could pursue an online business and basically invest a lot of money. I was actually $12,000 in debt to buy a course, an SMMA course, and I convinced my mom to give me a loan for $12,000 to hopefully make that money back and, you know, grow this business. But that all stemmed from this one belief. So yeah, independent thought is number one. Number 2, it's pretty basic, but it's to set goals. Set goals is the equivalent to having an end destination. It's equivalent of a captain on a ship knowing the port he's going to dock his boat in. You know, if a captain in the middle of the sea didn't have an end destination, he'd just be riding the waves. He'd just be a boat in the middle of the sea with no direction. He'd just be floating there. And it's only until he has a set direction in life that he's able to direct actions to actually achieve the goal. So the second thing that comes from this is the actions needed to achieve a goal. So once you've actually decided on your goal, how do I achieve this? It's as simple as that. If you feel directionless, you just really have to think clearly and define what you want in life. It could just be short term for now. It's okay if you might not know the long-term decision, but for me, like I mentioned earlier, it was early financial independence. It was to grow an online business enough to sustain me financially so that I could pursue that full time, to live independently from my parents. And a year and a half later, here I am. I live in an apartment with my brother at just 17, where we just work on our business full time that I decided to commit to just because of this first step. So it's basic, but I strongly encourage you to just set some time. If you don't have this already, set your goal on what you want to achieve within the next 1 to 2 years and commit to that. Make it your unwavering belief. Like, just continue to, but I just literally reaffirmed it into my head. I was like, early financial independence. I'm gonna commit everything to this, and everything will come, because if that's just your set destination, your mind, your body, your soul, it'll just figure out a way to achieve it, in my opinion. So yeah, set goals and don't be afraid to take action on those goals. Let me erase this. This is kind of getting low. I'm gonna raise this camera. Okay, number 3. I'm gonna tell you something crazy, okay? It's this quote called "flipping the floor." So essentially, just to show you visually, pretend this graph is your life. This is your progress toward your goal. This is time. And this is how most people live their life. A life of up and downs, right? It's what's called oscillation. They have a high and they have a low. In this high, people have their best moments. They make their most amount of progress. They're most consistent with the gym. They're on their longest streak of no fap. They have read consistently for a month. Like, this is their best version of themselves, right? This right here is their lowest version of themselves, that they, a month later, just stopped everything. They quit going to the gym consistently, started eating junk food again. They just got through a breakup. Now they're poorly in a poor mental state. And you have these in every area of your life. So you have your ups and downs of, like, your sleep schedule. You have your ups and downs of how consistent you are in the gym. You have your ups and downs of, whatever the topic is be, you always have an oscillation. And the result is the average at which that oscillation stands. So this line is the average of your life. The average of the two oscillations is the result you're going to get in life. This is why so many people live in a mediocre life, is because they never think to raise their standards their highest standards and flip the floor, which is the concept I'm going to draw below this. So what the mentor in the course I bought taught me in his mindset module, which, by the way, absolutely changed my life. If you don't know Charlie Morgan, check out his content. This absolutely changed my life. This, just understanding this. It's called flipping the floor. So it's the same graph, except there's one difference. Right? Now this is the chart of a successful person. And what you can notice here is that there are points here on the graph where the oscillations are, there's still ups and downs in their life, but the floor, the bottom of their next bout of lows is actually that same level at what their last high was. And this point, if you now calculate the average, you can see it's positive, like this. This is how growth happens. This is the key to long-term success, because if you continue to raise your standards, then you won't regress to the worst version of yourself that you don't want to be at, right? So I'll give an example financially. Let's say you started a business and you had a high, or you had a goal, right? You hit 1K per month in your business. Your next goal was 2K per month. Then your next goal was 5K per month. Your next goal was 10K per month, right? Each stage is a new high. Let's say this month you hit 1K, the next you hit 0 or 500 a month or whatever. And the next month you hit 2K, new high, right? But the key here is that you don't want to go below 1K again, because you've enacted the habits and the traits of the person who is able to make 2K per month. You following? This person who achieved this high, he can regress back down to 0, but if he maintains the traits of the person that got him to this point, he'll always maintain a baseline of 1K per month. It's a crazy thing. And then if you keep on flipping your floors and you raise your standards, then you literally cannot regress and become broke again. I feel like this is the case with Matthew and I. If we hit 2K a month with our business next month, that is like a worse feeling than not brushing your teeth for a month. That is like, it's breaching a standard so low, like you have this unworthy, like cringe feeling inside. It's like if you went on the street and you punched grandma and beat her until she fell on the ground, like that's just like horrible. No one would do that according to their standards, a sane, moral person's standards. But you can apply that same concept to business and goals. Like this could be for anything. This could be 5 hours of sleep every night. You get at most 5 hours of sleep because of your shitty bedtime consistency. So you had a goal to get 6 hours. Okay, you hit 6. What got you to the point that got you to 6 hours of sleep? Maybe you went to bed sooner. Maybe you stopped like texting your friends really late at night. Maybe you stopped like eating a heavy meal at night and like doing things that are stimulating at night, turning off your phone. There are simple habits to get you to the next level. You just have to maintain the standards it got you to achieve that next level. Are you following? Does this make sense? Okay. And so that can all be summarized in a few quotes. And I'll just speak them. You don't rise to your best self imaginable. You regress to your worst self that is acceptable. Let me repeat that. You don't progress to your best self imaginable. You regress to your worst self that is acceptable. So that means if you want to achieve the best version of yourself, you actually have to make that person you want to be the worst possible person that you could tolerate. You have to make it think like, oh my gosh, if my finances aren't X, Y, and Z, and my, consistency in the gym is X, Y, Z, I have this horrible feeling inside, like I completely breached my standards. That's the key to flipping the floor. That's an insane concept, which I'll be completely vulnerable. Like, I still struggle with this. I have financial goals that I'm always up and down, and it is very hard to do. But if you just commit yourself, every time you set a new goal, just like subconsciously, you're like, baseline. This is the new standard. Let's say you hit like a record on a marathon or something. You did your first marathon. You'd be like, wow, but you get that dopamine rush. You're like, this is great, but this is my new baseline. I know what I'm capable of now. How can I achieve the next thing? 2K, 2 kilometer, or two marathons. Like, how can I get that to that point? And then you're just running one marathon becomes your standard. So, insane concept. Now if that didn't blow your mind already, I'm about to blow your mind again. Are you ready for this next concept? All of these are from the mindset modules I paid $12K for. So, I'd listen. So number 4, it's a big R word. It's the concept of resistance. So let me tell you why you keep not achieving your goals. This is the only and ever will be the only thing that stops you from achieving your goals. So to illustrate this, you can think you got your current self, and then this is the version of yourself that you want to be. Okay? Please excuse my drawings of stick figures. But this is your current situation, right? This lower version of yourself. This is like the person who's, I'll just give an easy example of fitness. This is the person who doesn't have a six-pack yet. He wants to get a nice six-pack. In between you to the person you want to be, there's this gap, right? This gap is, for the sake of this analogy, think of it as a big wall of fire, okay? This is called the trial by fire. And this trial by fire is a living hell. Just literally think about it as a big walkway of fire you have to walk through doing the work to get to the version of yourself that you want to be. And the way that you move through the fire is a W word, and that W word is called the work. This W word, this 4-letter word, is the only way you can defeat resistance. The whole concept of resistance is to keep you where you're at. Resistance will do everything in its power to keep your current self from evolving into your evolved self. So just for the sake of analogy, this is your current self. This is the person you want to be, aka the evolved self, okay? Resistance, which can take a variety of different forms. It will manifest for different people in different circumstances. It's anything that gets in the way of you achieving your goals. So for example, resistance to getting the six-pack. Maybe it's doubt. Maybe it's like, oh, I don't think it's possible. I don't think I can achieve it in the next year. It's like, oh, I can't commit to this. I don't think I'll achieve it. Maybe it's fear of what would happen if you don't achieve a goal. Maybe it's like, oh, if I don't achieve getting a six-pack within the next year, it's like, I'll hate myself. It could be procrastination. It could be doubt. It could be a lack of knowledge. It could be a lack of commitment. Maybe you don't have motivation. Whatever resistance manifests itself to you achieving your evolved self is resistance. And I'll tell you, The amount of times I needed to conquer resistance in the last year and a half to get to where I am, I can't even count. Because every time you become this new person, you have walked through the trial by fire, and you've transcended into a new person. This person that you achieved, once you achieve the goal, is a completely different person than who you were before. It's literally evolving into a new person. If you showed me the habits, the traits, the way Elijah spoke, the way Elijah thought, everything about Elijah a year and a half ago, and you showed me and you stood him right next to me, I wouldn't even recognize him to an extent. Of course, we probably look the same, we have the same hair color, whatever, but like the way that we think about the world, the way we think about our business, the way we think about our problems in life, it's completely different. And again, one of the keys to beating resistance is to just do the work. Now that's very vague, and doing the work is obviously different depending on the goal and the means to actually achieve the goal. But the work, the actual definition of the work, it can just be summarized to the work you know you're supposed to do but you're avoiding. Like if you gave yourself an honest look and you just told yourself like, oh, I can't work out because XYZ, because of like I can't go to the gym. You know what you need to do. You need to actually find the gym that you're looking to work out for, right? Again, this is like universally applicable, and there's so many different scenarios. Like personally, I'll give an example. One of the trial by fires I had to transcend and overcome was the conversation I had to have with my parents about who I wanted to be, that I explained in the middle of this video, where I had to convince them to go homeschool. The main form of resistance that I was facing was fear of what my parents might think of me. It was fear of thinking that they'd like kick me out of the house or disown me, or God forbid, like they do something like I would completely ruin the relationship or whatever. And that fear held me back from telling them the truth, from me being authentic with myself and telling them, no, this is actually what I want to do, Mom and Dad. It was only until I made that commitment, I said at the beginning that I won't live up to the expectations of others, I transcended the fear of judgment from other people. If you no longer live your expectations for other people, you no longer care what people think of you. Think about it. Think about how many people in this world, especially if you're in school still, or you're young and you have young influences, how common it is to live your life in a way that's inauthentic, or not true to you because you're afraid of what other people might think of it. Think about just the way you're boxed into this cultural, societal way of life, the way of thinking, a way of speaking. To some extent, you can't even control this because it's so hard to break societal norms, right? For me, it was very hard because, like, who in the right mind, 16-year-old, would drop out just to start an online business? Like, no, you gotta do the safer path, right? And that was just the paradigm of my parents at the time. But for me, I had a bigger vision, right? But it was only until I said, no, I'm only gonna live to the expectations for myself and live for myself, that fear no longer encapsulated me into taking action, which is just having a hard conversation. I'll leave you with another quote. Your life is one conversation from completely changing, but you're stuck at where you're at because you're too afraid to have the conversation. Just think about that. I cannot tell you how important this concept is. The trial by fire, the war against your current self versus your evolved self. It's a literal battle between who you are and who you want to be. And you have to win the battles. Every day is going to be a literal battle against who you currently are. everything in its power. Your current self is going to drag you down and do everything in its power to keep you where you're at, because it does not want to die. Every time you evolve into a new self, your current self dies. Literally, the version of yourself who you once were, it's no more, because you're a new person. And you can think of resistance like a honey badger who's cornered into a room, and it's going to do everything it can to just crawl, spit, like punch and like jab at you and scratch at you and do everything in its power before it's about to die, before you transcend to that next person. So you have to fight. You have to fight resistance in any way possible. I could do a whole video on resistance, but this video is already kind of getting long, and I want to finish the 7 values. So number 5, let me just think for a moment. Yeah. Find mentors. Really, the only reason why I'm here today is because I've found people who have walked the path I want to walk, and were already successful before me, and I just followed their footsteps to become who I wanted to be. For example, if you look at Charlie Morgan and his level of success, he makes like 8 figures in a year. He's built systems, the exact same systems he teaches in the course, to get to 8 figures. And so, do I want to be like Charlie Morgan financially? Yeah. So a good question to ask yourself to finding a mentor is, do I want to be like this person in this area of life? Do I want this person's love life? Do I want this person's, like, do I want to look like them, physique wise maybe? Or do I want to be like them on the way they speak? Do I want to be like them with the traits they embody? Do I want to be like them with the beliefs they embody? So for me, I found a few business mentors. You can find like relationship mentors, you can find fitness coaches and mentors. But what really got me from 0 to 1 is finding people who can give you the set path that you want to take, and you just follow their footsteps. It's that easy. I was blessed enough to luckily find good mentors, because there are like a lot of scams and gurus out there that don't really know what they're doing. So you do have to do some good research on that. 2 mentors real quick that I'd recommend are, at least in the agency space, are Charlie Morgan and Matt Shields. Matt Shields is also founder of Serve Others, which now I think it's called the Agency Boardroom. But those 2 are really good if you are looking to start an agency. And lastly, the person who probably changed my paradigms and beliefs the most is Luke Belmar. He's still a big influence of mine. In the way beginning though, it was actually Hamza. If you know, he was in the beginning when I started my self-improvement journey, and there's so many more in the health space and people I look up to. But yeah, that was just a quick spiel about the mentors I found in my journey. So erase this. So we got 2 more. Number 6. Number 6 is I'm gonna give you a stack that is insanely powerful to harness the power of thinking. Video journaling plus thinking and walking. You will see countless videos on this channel of me literally just going on a walk in nature and talking to myself, thinking out loud, thinking of my ideas, thinking of the problems I'm going through, thinking about what I need to achieve, what's stopping me from achieving what I need to achieve, thinking about my problems in life, just articulating my thoughts. And I cannot tell you how much it helps you gain clarity, gain insight that you wouldn't have already otherwise if you didn't talk out loud to yourself. Additionally, the benefit of video journaling versus journaling on paper is that you can see literally like years later down the line the cadence at which you speak, the language at what you speak, like how you thought about yourself, the way that you look at yourself, your body language, so many different visual cues and things that you can just note a year later. Like, I can't thank myself enough for documenting like a video in November or October of last year where my situation is completely different than when it is now, but I can look back and be like, wow, EJ was thinking about this. I can't believe a year later, like, now I'm here. So you begin to think of yourself differently and thank yourself for doing this. I promise you will not regret if you just continue to video journal. Just take like 5-10 minutes of whatever problem you're thinking of and just record yourself. Thinking is very important. Even just setting time aside to just literally just sit in your room for 5 minutes doing nothing. Like, stop scrolling every second you can and be comfortable with silence is, I think, a very good lesson, especially with our short attention spans nowadays. Thinking is very powerful, and they don't teach you to think in the traditional education system, I should say. And not to get too much into that rabbit hole, but that was part of the reason why I decided to not want to go to school. But that's a conversation for another day. Anyways, summary: document your thoughts on video. Go on a nature walk. Go on a 10 brisk nature walk and document your thoughts that way. Post them on YouTube if you want to, because maybe your brain will thank you later. Yeah. Last but not least, number 7. And I definitely need to do a better job of concisely organizing my thoughts. This is definitely an experiment video because probably retention wise, unless you're still sticking around after 32 minutes, I commend you and I thank you for sticking around this long. But I would assume most people won't stick around for a 32-minute video of me just like talking in the whiteboard. Beautiful view though, eh? Like, that's it's a very nice lake and area and a vibe. Anyways, I was gonna say I need to like be better at concisely documenting my points and like try to under 15 minutes at most. 10 minutes is better. That's a lesson for myself though. Anyways, number 7, which arguably is the most important because it transcends anything we do in life. Succumb to faith. Hope you can read that. As of the past recent months, I began to explore my relationship with God very intricately, very passionately, and I have a video on this channel, October 27th, where I literally documented a spiritual experience. So that's insane. You should check that out. I'd highly recommend you would. But it was after that day, I'm gonna lower this so I can squat next to you guys. It was only until after that day I realized nothing on this earth matters. Now hear me out. Everything we do on earth is impermanent. Our lives, our finances, the people we meet, the people we love, we all become dust. And you know what the crazy thing is? Everyone will forget about you. No one will remember your dreams. No one will remember your life achievements. No one will remember the things that you got and the money you've acquired and all of this and all of this. It really helps to contemplate your life. It's a little bit, you could say, like you're thinking of your own mortality, right? So you're just thinking about your death. But it really does help put into perspective a lot of things that so many people are held back by. And for me, it was this feeling that like I had to do so much on this earth. What does this have to do with faith and God? Well, God is the only thing that transcends time, space, and matter. It's the only thing, or He's the only thing that will last after your lifetime. It will be the only place you go to. In my belief system, that there is an afterlife and you'll be brought upon Him. And when I realized that that's my ultimate residency, the place in heaven that I ultimately want to reside in, it completely shifted my prioritization about my life. And I realized that heaven is the ultimate form of long-term gratification. And that everything you can do to deepen your relationship with God is going to be permanent, because you're going to be with Him forever, for eternity. It's crazy. Concept of eternity next to one person's lifespan. It's like a speck in the sand on a beach. So I will say, coming to faith in the last recent months completely changed my life. Like, it completely shifted the way I do things, the way I speak, the way I think, the way I think about my business, the way I treat people, my clients, the way I speak about myself and think about myself. Like, one of the most important, like I'd say, benefits of deepening your relationship with God is because you begin to think of yourself better, because you realize that God's love is so much more than you could ever possibly need, than anything else other in this life, that it transcends and it extinguishes any sense of insecurity or fear or doubt that you might be holding. Maybe guilt, maybe shame, maybe feelings of uncertainty. When you come to God in repentance, in a way that's totally submissive, and you surrender your life to Him, you get this, like, you have to experience it. And I felt this on October, but you get this insane wave of peace and security in His love. Now, if all of what I just said went over your head, and now I sound like this hippie Christian guru, I get it. I was there. I was very skeptic in my beginning stages, but I just encourage you to just walk, crawl if you have to, but just try to dip your toe if you're just trying to dabble into the space about how to deepen your relationship with God, or just explore the concepts and go through the apologetics if you have to, if you're very logical. But I can't recommend it enough, because it transcends everything you do, and you just begin to think differently. You become a new person. But yeah, those are my 7 lessons about life, business, entrepreneurship, and your own psychology, most importantly. I hope it was valuable to you. I hope you learned a thing or two about the business. And the most important thing is that you implement, if that one thing stuck out to you, that you implement that one thing and see your life change. Because I'm telling you, if you do 1 out of those 7 things, your life will change, because it did for me. So that's the video. Elijah Kim, out.